Before we start, this episode of Gayish features frank discussion and even jokes about methamphetamines and substance abuse. If that's something you'd prefer not to hear, or if there's any possibility that will be a trigger for you in any way, we suggest you please skip this week's show. If you or anyone you know is struggling with methamphetamine use or other substances, there are resources available listed on our website at gayishpodcast.com/help. And now, enjoy Gayish. When you know that you are queer, but your favorite drink is beer, that's gayish. You can bottom without stopping, but you can't stand going shopping, that's gayish. Oh, gayish, you're probably gayish. Well, life's just too short for narrow stereotypes, so it's gayish. We're also gayish. It's Gayish with Mike and Kyle. Hello, everyone in the podcast universe. This is Gayish.
The podcast with one extra toe, but not where you'd expect.
Oh, yeah. Like right out of my sternum?
Yep. Right out of your sternum.
Yep. It's a big toe, too.
Oh, ew.
I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz.
We're here to bridge the gap between sexuality and actuality. And today it's going to be a feel-good episode,
It's going to be a fun one.
We're going to talk about meth.
We're going to talk about meth.
Methamphetamines.
Yeah.
Which is important that we talk about, but that doesn't mean it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
But first, but first, we have so much stuff up front.
Oh,
first of all, you dirty bitches,
you wonderful, friendly people.
We're doing a tour for our book, and you have to come, or we're going to quit.
Yes, Mike is going to quit, and it'll just be me.
Yeah,
and you do not want to hear me do the history of anything.
Nobody wants that, including you.
Exactly.
Right? So please save the show and come to our show. Go to gayishpodcast.com/book to get all of the information, all of the details. Luckily, I have a tour poster handy now, so I don't have to find my fucking notes. We are going to be in Atlanta at Round Trip Brewing on February 22nd at 2 p.m. Then we're going to be at Chicago again at Sidetrack, the iconic fucking Sidetrack, March 8th at 2 p.m. Then we're going to Washington, D.C. We'll be at Pitchers, which is better than Catchers, I guess. I don't know.
Hey. Rude.
March 22nd at 2 p.m. Then we will be in San Francisco, California at Oasis on Sunday, April 6th at 2 p.m. And last but certainly not least, we're going to be in Dallas at the Rose Room, which is on the upper floor of Station 4. That'll be April the 20th at 1 p.m. DC is selling fast, so if you want to make sure that you get a ticket, you really should get on that, because I'm pretty sure that show is going to sell out. And the rest of them, buy tickets.
Buy tickets. We want you there. They're all selling like hotcakes. Every single one of them.
Yep. Every one. I'm not totally worried about Atlanta at all.
Atlanta's going to be great. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Okay, so my notes say tour. We did it.
Do you think we did the tour enough?
Nailed that part. Oh, well,
bring your book to the tour if you want us to sign it.
Bring your book to the tour. We will make sure that we can sign it. We also will have limited quantities of books on hand to sell at the live shows as well. So if you don't have a book and want to buy one and get it signed at the same time, you can do so at the show. If you're not going to make it to any of the shows, then please buy a book. You can find the links for buying a book at gayishpodcast.com/book. Yeah. It very much helps us, and we love you.
Yeah.
And that's how you show us you love us. Money, right?
By buying our thing. That's the only way to show us. Otherwise we will have no idea.
Which we did a tour kickoff book launch party last night in Seattle.
Yeah.
And it was magical.
It was a lot of fun. A lot of very kind people, both friends and friends of the show and people that came out and wanted to see us. And we did a reading, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. It was a great event. Thanks for planning it, Mike.
Yeah.
And our book tour is officially kicked off now.
It's kicked off now, so buy books. We even had a couple of listeners from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
Yeah.
Come down just for our little event last night.
Can we call it an international tour then because of them?
It's an international book tour.
Yeah. That counts, right?
Other people traveled internationally.
Other people made it international.
3 whole hours of driving to get to us. We're very close to Canada, everybody.
Yeah.
That's why we're basically Canadian.
I wish.
Yeah, okay. Enough about that?
Yeah.
Did we do it?
Yeah.
Tour.
Tour.
Great. Okay. Next, We have 100 words, which at a certain level of Patreon, that's the Use Mike's whole benefit. If you send in 100 words, I will read them.
No matter what they are.
No matter what they are.
As per the following.
As per the following, for sure. It's also a very underutilized benefit. So if you are, if you're paying for it, you should use my whole.
Yeah.
You're paying for my whole. Use my whole.
Might as well use it. Yeah. And this person was like, you know what? I'm paying for it. I'm going to use it.
Yep. Well, this is from Jacob Rossitano. Here it goes. Hello, Gayish. I feel like we haven't had 100 words in a while, so I thought I would send a random one over. I want to use my benefit because I like y'all and want Mike to say something stupid.
I just get to chill. This is fun for me.
A skunk sat on a stump and thunk the stump stunk, but the stump thunk the skunk stunk. I slit the sheet I slit, and on the slitted sheet I sit. Brisk, brave brigadiers brandished broad, bright blades, blunderbusses and bludgeons, balancing them badly. If you must cross a coarse cross cow across a crowded cow crossing, cross the cross course cow across the crowded cow crossing carefully. I thought a thought, but the thought I thought wasn't the thought I thought I thought. If the thought I thought had been the thought I wouldn't have thought I thought. Sorry, it's 104 words, but tongue twisters, ha ha. Anyway, I love y'all and hope things are going well. Can't wait to see you in Chicago. I read the whole thing so that I could make a plug for the Chicago show, Kyle, not just merely to annoy you. That was just a pleasant side bonus.
It's just a benefit. It wasn't 104 words. It was 120 something or however many.
See, sometimes you get more whole than you paid for.
That's true. More whole per dollar than expected or something.
Thank you, Jacob. Appreciate
Thank you.
That. And then last thing before we get into the news, we had some feedback. I love hate mail, and this is maybe my favorite.
Yeah.
On the Barbra Streisand episode, somebody on our YouTube channel, because we have a YouTube channel that we're not doing great at, but we're gonna get better.
We post all of our episodes to YouTube, so
just the audio, which people want to see the video, which is stupid.
Yeah,
we're ugly. Don't do that. Anyway, I love it. This comment was on our YouTube channel post for the Streisand episode. If neither of you are Streisand fans and you think she's old or stupid and before your time, why didn't you have a gay guy on who is a fan and you could have had a conversation with someone knowledgeable? Also, I assume the two of you are in your 20s. Thank you. And don't understand why gays under 30 to 35 have no interest in any artist who was, as they term it, before their time. So any artist before 2000? Before Britney Spears, Barbra Streisand, Bette Midler, Cher, that's my mom's generation, but I always loved them, and they're before my time. Actually, I enjoyed Judy Garland, too, and her entire life happened before my time. A boring and pointless podcast. I think people just like to hear the sound of their own voices. Good luck to you. Heart emoji.
Heart emoji.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. I don't like to hear the sound of my own voice. That's the first thing that you are incorrect about.
You're most incorrect about being in my 20s. I think it's okay for me to say now I'm pushing 50.
You're not. Okay.
I'm 46 years old.
That's not pushing 50.
Bette Midler is not before my time. Cher is not before my time.
Sometimes one of us says something and people attribute it to both of us. I definitely said that they were before my time, and then you get caught in the crosshairs of that.
I don't think either of us said that she was old or stupid. That's for sure putting words in my mouth.
Oh yeah, I said I liked Funny Girl.
Yeah, I don't understand. You're clearly just mad and die mad.
No, I understand. This is what we say. If you like a topic, really like a topic that we cover, you're going to hate the episode on it because we're not as big of fans as whatever that topic is as you. Yep. And I think some people miss the point that, like, part of the point is we're not fans of Barbra Streisand. So, like, not every gay is a huge Barbra Streisand fan. And by doing an episode on her, we're pointing that out and pointing out how you don't have to fit into the stereotypes to be a good gay. So I think some people kind of miss the point of it.
Don't gatekeep. You're basically saying give me your gay card back, which, like, we hate that.
We hate that.
That's not how we roll here. So again, you can be mad about it all you want to. Die mad.
They will never hear this.
They will never hear this.
You're not listening.
Heart emoji.
Heart emoji.
Yeah. What was I looking up? I was looking up. Oh yeah, one last thing I was going to find out here. Yeah, Judy Garland died in 1969, which is nowhere near any of our time. So, like, I don't know. Your relationship with time is weird. Okay, now the news. Shut your mouth hole. It's time for your ear holes. News. Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Mike.
Why is this Benson Boone person so hot?
Is this the one that adjusted himself at the Grammys?
Yeah.
Okay.
He does a bunch of flips and he has abs and can sing that song where he screams a lot.
I only saw like a gif of him adjusting his package.
Yeah.
That's all I saw. That's all I needed.
I didn't want him to be as hot as he is. It's really just anyway. That's not news. That's just me.
It's a little bit. It's kind of newsworthy. I get that.
News the first. So, dickbag fuckface asshole award winner.
Oh no.
President Shitbag McBurgerface recently did an executive order that bans gender-affirming care for any individual under 19. And trans rights advocates are, of course, understandably pissed off and freaking out about it. Fuck you very much. But that has then led to a bunch of protests that have been taking place outside of children's hospitals, who are the most affected by this because they definitely rely a lot on federal funding, which is what is at stake. So the demonstrations have drawn on hundreds of participants, shut down bustling city streets, and made an unmistakable impact on local communities. Notable protests took place outside the University of Virginia Health in Charlottesville, Washington, D.C.'s Children's National Hospital, and New York University Langone in New York City, each serving as a direct rebuke of the hospital's decision to preemptively follow an order with no clear enforcement mechanism. Part of the protest is against the hospital for like kowtowing before launching any sort of a defense.
It's kowtowing?
Kowtowing?
Oh, I always, when I read it,
Kowtow?
Kowtowing.
Kowtow. I don't know. Now we need to know how to say that, don't we?
I think you're probably right. You're right about this kind of stuff.
Kowtow. Yes, kowtow.
Oh.
Also, it's spelled with a K, not with a C. Some people misspell it with a C.
Oh.
Yeah.
The more you know. We learned so much on this news segment, not even about the news.
I mean, I'm an author, Kyle.
You are a published author. Yeah, it's fucked up. Doctors are there to help their patients in whatever way that the doctors know how to do best with the best available data and science, and the best available data and science can sometimes include gender-affirming care for minors. Yep. Oftentimes, there is no medical intervention. It just means dressing different and going by a different name. Mm. So that's most often. But puberty blockers are a common thing that even cis people might use.
Yep.
And some of the surgeries, gender-affirming surgeries, are on cis people.
Yep.
Like, people just don't... Trans people... I watched an interview that Laverne Cox was doing, I think on The View, and she was like, trans people are 1% of the population. They are not the reason you can't afford eggs. They are not the reason that your rent is high. They are not the cause of your problems.
Nor will doing anything to fuck with them be the solution to any of your problems.
It won't help at all.
They're literally not a problem.
Yeah.
Derek Flora, who was on our episode about Mormons way back in the day, season 1 of Gayish, he had gynecomastia as a teenager, and he had surgery to have breast tissue removed. He's a cis man, mm-hmm. and that's gender-affirming care. That's like, you're a boy and don't want boobs. That's gender-affirming care.
Yeah.
And there's no room for nuance. Queer people bad, trans people bad, mm-hmm. two genders, period.
Yeah.
And like, that's not how the world works. No matter how much you want it to work that way, you fucking imbecile.
Yeah.
Great.
You asshole. Fuck off.
I also think, Kyle, that this situation, the protesting against the hospitals before they've even had a chance to sort of like push back, I think is because everyone's running scared right now. Trump says any old crazy thing he wants to and signs any old executive order that he wants to. And people are not trusting that there will be any sort of repercussions to him making an illegal or incorrect order.
But because there hasn't been.
Right. Exactly. So if he says that, like, you have to call the sky green, and if you don't, I'm going to fine you $400, I'm betting that, like, a lot of people will just start calling the sky green because they're afraid that insanity would actually stick. Yeah. So if I were a hospital administrator, I would probably begrudgingly adhere to the order before launching any sort of a legal challenge or any sort of pushback, because he apparently gets to do whatever he wants to without any consequences and without any recourse. So I don't know. I sort of feel for them. At the same time, we need people to stand in our corner. Yeah. Like, I think it's okay for us to be disappointed or angry when people don't stand up for us, right? Queer people,
Yeah.
or people of color, or gay people, like any marginalized minority. We're going to need people to take brave stands and help fight for us, because we definitely don't have the numbers to do it ourselves.
Yeah, we definitely need allies, and this is the time to be an ally.
Yep. Okay, news the second.
Yeah, everything's bad, and you should feel bad today.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so another one. President Orrin Schittler signed an executive order in the East Room of the White House on Wednesday, fulfilling a campaign promise to restrict trans Americans from participation in sports as a part of a broader push against LGBTQ plus rights. The White House had announced Wednesday morning that Trump would sign what it called the No Men in Women's Sports executive order into law.
It's interesting because their stupidity may give us a loophole. If the ruling says there are no men in women's sports, then that's fine, because I agree.
Yeah, I agree. That's not what we want, and that's not what's happening.
Right, exactly. We're all on the same page on that one.
So before signing the order, he delivered a more than 30-minute long rambling speech filled with incendiary rhetoric.
Or as he would call it, a speech.
Yeah, falsely claiming that, quote, men are beating up, injuring, and cheating our women and our girls. He framed the executive action as a defense of the, quote, proud tradition of female athletes. Women's sports will be only for women. And so he falsely suggested that trans athletes have won, quote, more than 3,500 victories and invaded more than 11,000 competitions. He just makes up numbers, everybody.
Yeah.
And he claimed that a male boxer stole the women's gold medal, which that famously was a cis woman.
Yeah.
Anyway, I fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Fuck this guy. Fuck everyone that supports him. I'm just so mad.
Yeah.
Everything's bad and you should feel bad today.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, he also has been flirting with the idea, but hasn't yet ordered it, that because the Olympics will be in the United States of America in 2028, forbidding trans athletes from the Olympics if they are to be held here.
Oh, that's so fucked up.
That's super duper fucked up. It's not fucking up to him.
Yeah.
I don't know what power he thinks he has over what the organization, the Olympics, and is it Los Angeles? The city of Los Angeles. But anyway, whatever. Just so fucking mad. I don't know. I hope that motherfucker dies. News the last.
Sure.
This was the happiest thing I could come up with.
Okay.
Great. Yeah. You remember Kim Davis?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
our happy news starts. I'm ready for a journey for you to take me on.
It's not happy.
Oh,
I just said
okay.
happiest. Kim Davis, the former Kentucky county clerk who spent 5 days in jail for refusing to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples back in 2015, was back in court on Thursday with her lawyers arguing that she shouldn't have to pay the punitive damages from her ruling. So
why not?
So basically, they're claiming that, quote, I have no doubt that Obergefell will be overturned and the issue will be returned back to the states as it was before 2015, and that somehow that retroactively meant that she was following the law the whole time and therefore shouldn't have had to pay anything.
It will go back to the states, so she didn't have to follow the law
when it was for sure the law.
When it was the law. Sure. Okay. This is the kind of logic Trump supporters have.
Yep. However they want.
Everything they say or do is based on these kinds of weird logical loopholes or hoops or whatever.
Well, and it's their whole world is based on what they think should be true, or what they wish were true, instead of what is actually true. Whether that's about biology or identity or apparently the fucking law. She owed $100,000 to one of the gay couples that she turned away and has not paid it.
Wow.
And now is claiming that she doesn't have to.
Sure.
Oh, God. I will definitely be talking about this bitch again in the future. Anyway, yeah. She's back in the news, everybody.
Great. We missed her. Welcome back, honey.
Welcome back, Kim. And with your, kind of Elvis-like hair. Okay, that's the news.
That's the news. Speaking of people we'd like to welcome, I want to thank the new Patreon members, Jimmy Pars.
Jimmy Pars.
That's all one word.
Jimmy Pars.
Jimmy Pars.
Okay.
And thank you to Headless Dullahan. Headless Dullahan.
Headless Dullahan.
Yep.
Do I not know? Is that supposed to mean something?
I don't know. Some of these I'm like, is this
Also,
a reference that I'm not getting? Or
I very much doubt that you're headless. Like,
you don't know. You don't know what kind of goose or goals are out there.
okay.
Thank you.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Sometimes I say things and I just want to move on from them and not dwell on them.
Okay.
If you want ad-free episodes a day early, if you want to use Mike's hole,
Use my hole
with 100 or more words, then go to patreon.com/gayish podcast.
Do it.
Okay. Do you want to talk about meth?
Let's talk about meth, Kyle. And no, I don't want to talk about meth, but I know that we need to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shitty subject to talk about, but an important one in the gay community because I think it goes unspoken a lot of times. And it's,
It's definitely a problem.
And it's a problem.
It's a problem. Yeah, we definitely need to talk about it.
Yeah.
You are going to talk more about this later on in the show, and this episode was your idea. You're pushing us to put it on the schedule.
Yeah. I wrote about meth use in the book, and I guess up front I'll let people know that I have used meth and am working on not doing that. And it was till this time one of the subjects that I've been unwilling to talk about.
Yeah.
It's been on the no-fly zone for a while, and when it came up as part of the book, it made sense, I think, to include my experiences with it. I think it's on the chapter you're probably drinking party or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I think now that information is out there in book form, then I want to finally be able to talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, there's a bunch of, for the longest time, if either of us were uncomfortable with a topic, we would run towards it instead of away from it. And there are a handful of topics that one of us has vetoed and said absolutely not. And this is one of them that was vetoed, and now it's unvetoed. It's like Roe versus Wade, Kyle.
Oh, great. I'm sad for two reasons now.
It was overturned by the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
That is me
this
and you.
Committee. Yeah. Yeah. The committee of us. Yeah. Yeah. So I think this is the last big, I haven't not been this nervous about an episode since we did depression, episode 7 or whatever the fuck, when I first started sharing personal things that I was not used to sharing.
Yep.
Because this is really personal to me.
Yep. Well, okay. So let's take a break from the Kyle story.
Okay, great. Ideal.
Let's talk about the history of meth.
Sure.
So you probably know a lot of this already, dear listener.
I doubt. Oh.
But meth is short for methamphetamine.
Oh, yeah.
And when we say meth, I think that the problematic usage of meth is smoking the crystal form of meth, right? That's really the problematic use of it. And I think it's important, because we're going to talk about this throughout the show today, that methamphetamine, like a lot of drugs, started in pharmacology and has legitimate medical uses, and that's why it exists, right? So it's a central nervous system stimulant, and is used mainly as a recreational drug, but it also is a second-line treatment for ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And some people have also researched it as a treatment for a traumatic brain injury, which I think is interesting.
Huh.
Anyway, what year do you think it was discovered?
1952.
A fine guess. 1893.
Damn. Okay.
Is when it was discovered. Just the molecule, methamphetamine, the molecule. And there's two versions, like a lot of chemicals. There's the left version and the right version, levomethamphetamine and dextromethamphetamine. And a lot of people will, for ADHD, for instance, take dexedrine, and that's the right-handed version of this molecule. So it's in Adderall, it's in Vyvanse, but it's also available as a street drug, and people are capable of making it themselves various ways. So when it was discovered, it was discovered by this dude named, I'm gonna fuck this up, Lazar Edeleanu. Edeleanu? Elihu. This Hungarian dude. And he first synthesized it in 1887 in Germany, and then he named it phenyl isopropylamine. And it was around the same time that a Japanese chemist, Nagai Nagayoshi, isolated ephedrine from the Chinese ephedra plant, and then he also then synthesized methamphetamine from ephedrine in 1893. So then it just kind of sat there. It was just sort of a academic like novelty for a while until it was turned into a drug, pharmacological use in 1934 when Smith, Kline, and French began selling amphetamine as an inhaler under the trade name of Benzedrine. Now, going back to this Lazar, Laza with a swoop over it, R, Edeleanu. So he is an interesting cat, and I'm going to do the thing that I do pretty often in the history and say, we don't know, and it's problematic, but I think he was gay. So,
never married?
Never married, no spouses, no children, and was just hardcore. So he was born in 1861, so right at the beginning of the American Civil War, but he was born in Romania. He was born in Romania. He's Romanian. And not only did he first synthesize amphetamine, meth, he invented the modern method of refining crude oil.
Sure. Wow. Dual achievements.
He went to St. Sava High School, went to study at the University of Berlin, obtained his doctorate in chemistry in 1887. His thesis was about some derivatives of phenyl methacrylic acid and phenyl isobutyric acid.
Makes sense to me.
He worked at the Royal College of Artillery in London as a lecturer, and he helped create fireproof silk.
Wow.
Yeah. In 1906, he was appointed the head of the chemistry laboratory at the Geology Institute of the University of Bucharest's Faculty of Sciences in the Organic Chemistry Department. And despite the fact that he's like the dude that discovered meth, his most significant invention is actually considered the Edeleanu process, which he invented in 1908, and that's how petroleum is refined with liquid sulfur dioxide to get hydrocarbons out of it to make oil and gasoline and stuff like that. So I looked all over the place, and he, for sure, again, like I said, no spouse, no children, and that phrase pops up over and over again. I talk about it all the time. He never married. That's exactly what you asked. He never married, which is often a wink, wink, nudge, nudge euphemism that historians use to mean that he was a faggot. Yeah,
which is like frustrating because I want historians to be a little bit more direct. Like, was he gay? Was he out and known to be? Or what? Did he just never marry? Some people don't marry, and that doesn't mean they're gay.
Yeah, which is also easier to do in the 20th century because then at least the word homosexual or gay existed. At the time that he was a young man, that term hadn't even been invented yet. It came from German in the 19th century. And so the problematic part historically is it's unlikely that anybody had that as an identity that they would have used for themselves, right? Yeah. Nobody would have said, I'm gay. That wasn't a thing.
Right. But people doing butt stuff with other dudes was a thing.
Right. Exactly. So anyway, I just it's entirely possible. We're going to talk about the gay community's relationship to meth, but it's entirely possible that it was a big old homo that like invented the shit in the first place.
Wow. Yeah. That would be a little bit fitting, actually.
Yeah. Indeed.
Unfortunately.
Then with the history of meth, we have the military to blame.
And, really?
Yeah, the Nazis, who were especially not great for gay people, but they basically handed out meth to their soldiers. It was Pervitin was the name of it that German soldiers used during World War II. They discovered that soldiers would last longer in battle if they were all hepped up on meth.
Yeah, they didn't have to sleep.
And they were all horny as hell, apparently. The Germans called them Stuka tablets or Hermann Goering pills because Goering apparently was widely known to be addicted to drugs. So they were making fun of this dude. But then the military ultimately decided, so they started passing out meth to their soldiers in 1938. And by 1941, they had sharply cut back its usage because they discovered that the side effects suck. And I'm sure we're going to talk about the withdrawal symptoms here eventually. But, quote, a soldier going to battle on Proviton usually found himself unable to perform effectively for the next day or two. Suffering from a drug hangover and looking more like a zombie than a great warrior, he had to recover from the side effects. Some soldiers turned violent, committing war crimes against civilians. Others attacked their own officers. And they were like, okay, let's take a step back from this meth thing.
So maybe not. Apologies, everybody.
Yep. And then, but really, a lot of those soldiers got hooked and came back from the war, and started looking for ways to make it, find it, get access to it, etc. And also, it wasn't just the Germans, by the way. Like there were also Allied forces that used different kinds of stimulants to help their soldiers last longer in battle, etc. And so pharmacologically, there's a bunch of ways that meth and its derivatives are used to treat ADHD, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But the problem is what we see in the party culture that builds up around gays and gay culture in the 1970s and 80s and has persisted ever since. And it's a significant problem for our community.
Yeah. How big of a problem, you may ask? Well,
ooh, there's a segue.
Let me tell you precisely how big of a problem, because I have some of the data.
Great.
This is from the Sexual Orientation and Estimates of Adult Substance Youth and Mental Health. Results from the 2015 National Survey on Drug Use and Health. Okay. That is quite the name of it's like a research that this organization did.
10 years ago. We don't know what's changed, but it's probably this is the best available data that we have on usage and variance by sexual orientation.
Let's go. This is done by Grace Headley, Rachel N. Lipari, Jonaski Bose, Devin S. Cribb, Larry A. Crudity, and Gretchen McHenry. This is done by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, which is a branch of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Okay. So glad we have that department, and it's high and functioning now. They did over 68,000 interviews. There were approximately 3,000 interviews of adult respondents age 18 and older who self-identified as a sexual minority. Okay. And we are just talking about gays, lesbians, and bisexuals. Unfortunately, like we see in many research or studies, the trans people do not get included.
I mean, at least bi people got included.
Bi people are in there. Good for you.
That rarely happens, too.
Yep. So happy for you, bis. You made the cut this time around. You are not invisible. So the results, I'm just going to tell you about just overall the percentage of people who had used any illicit drug in the past year.
Okay.
For straight people, that was what percent?
70.
Wow. No. 17.
17.
Yeah.
I mean, I said 17.
Oh, sorry. That was my mistake then. I misheard you. 17.1% had misused any illicit drug in the past year.
I grew up in the 80s, and the Reagans made me think that just everyone was getting fucking high as fuck all the time.
This is the problem, is that we think that everyone is doing drugs all the time and everyone's cooler than us, and we're just on the outside. Mm-hmm. That's, I think, part of the reason that I did this for the very first time is I don't want to blame Queer as Folk, but when I saw them doing drugs on Queer as Folk, I was like, oh, gays do drugs when they go to clubs, and I didn't know the difference between any drug. So I just thought that I was the only one that was missing out. Yeah. And so I'll get to the data on how many people actually do it. But in terms of, again, back to just any illicit drug in the past year, for for straight people, it was 17%. For LGBT people, it was 39.1%.
Okay, I was going to say 40, so that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, 2.3 times as many LGBT people have used illicit drugs in the past year.
Yep. And that sort of actually checks out.
Yeah.
I was guessing that everybody was doing drugs, but like had no proof. It seems like about half of my gay friends, like ish, are doing something.
Yeah. And the biggest one is marijuana. So I don't know how they
which is no longer
measure
illegal
it.
in this state, but
I
it
don't
was
know.
10 years ago.
So anyway, this is the top used illicit drug among both straight people and sexual minorities. So
Wait, weed is or meth?
Weed.
Weed, yeah.
Yeah. So for straight people, 12.9% had used it in the past year. For LGBT people, 30.7% of people had used it in the past year. So that's 2.4 times more likely to be used among LGBT people, which we like our weed in the gay community. I think so.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, we like drugs in general. So all of these, it's like gays are more likely to do the drug than straight people.
Yep.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
And there are lots of reasons. Do you know why we do drugs more often?
Because life is shittier for us.
A little bit. I think that's partially we don't feel like we fit in. Drugs help provide a feeling of calming some of the minority stress that we face growing up, some of the questions and doubts that we have about ourselves.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And drug culture, I think, can create a place where you feel like you do belong.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if I get high, then I belong with the high people. Great.
Yeah. Yep. So on to meth. The second most highest percentage of usage was misusing prescription pain relievers. So that's a separate episode topic we should do.
I feel like that has changed in the last 10 years, but yes.
Yeah. Do you think it went up?
No, I think it's gone down.
Oh.
I think that we as a regulatory culture in this country have started to crack down a lot on opioids, especially, right? Like Oxy and Vicodin and Percocet and all of these pain medications that I remember being very much something that like people casually were using in my life in the late 90s and early 2000s. That has started to abate.
Interesting.
Now it's like people are no longer casually using it, and they're just like going straight to fentanyl or nothing at all. Like, I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, I was surprised that was the second highest, most used after marijuana. But let's get to meth. For straight people, the percentage that had used it in the past year was 0.6.
Whoa.
0.6% of people.
Okay.
I would guess a lot of this data is underreported because people are less likely to be honest about things that are difficult, like drug use.
Wow.
So we can, I think, they'll look at the differences between the two groups because I think we're equally likely to underreport.
And I think, well, this is potentially uncomfortable.
What?
I think that the social stigma against crystal meth is like very high. Like I would see that as being something that people wouldn't admit, even if it were true.
Yeah, for sure.
Just because that's like a whole new level, I think, of like weed, haha, oh, wacky tobacco, that's adorable. But like meth is like, oh.
Now we're getting to some drugs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So for straight people, it's 0.6. For LGBT people, it is 2.3. So it is 3.8 times more common for sexual minorities.
Damn near quadruple.
Yep.
The rate.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
Okay.
If we break
Do you think? Go ahead.
Well,
Do you think that's because of the sex aspects of it?
Yeah.
Like meth and sex go like hand in hand. At least that's the spoiler alert, everybody. I've never done it, but like at least not when it wasn't a medication, which we'll also talk about. But
yeah, sex and meth are like one and the same to me. Like I've never done meth without it being part of some kind of sex hookup group, something.
Yeah. But that's because it's like particularly well suited for that, right? Like it's So I wonder if a sexual minority automatically already uses more drugs than straight people do, and then it's a sexual minority, so sex is very much part of the culture, and dudes are horny, and like this is the drug, this is the sex drug. So like that's I'm trying to explain why quadruple is the rate difference, and
some people, I mean, in talking about why this is, talked about we have our own like the stigmas around sex, fear, shame that comes along with the sex that we do have because it is so stigmatized in society. So to take something that helps remove those stigmas is a good reason, big reason why this could be popular among gay people.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you look at just meth use among men, straight people, straight men, it is at 0.9%. So you're more likely to use meth if you're a straight man than just straights overall.
Okay.
Than women.
Is that true of all drugs though?
I don't know. I didn't look at the breakdown for all drugs.
I would imagine dudes do more drugs in general. It just is I have no data that just feels true.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a chart on this research study if we want to go look it up.
All right.
Later.
All right.
For bisexual, so for straight men, it's 0.9%. For bisexual men, it's 2.2%. So that's 2.4 times higher. For gay men, it is at 4.1% have used it in the past year. So that means it's 4.5 times more likely than straight people.
Yeah. Wow.
To use meth. Among women, for straight women, it is 0.3% had used it in the past year. So they're less likely, as I mentioned, than straight men to use it. For lesbians, it's at 0.4%. So 1.3 times more likely. So not super more likely to have, they are slightly more likely, but not by a whole lot. For bisexual women, their usage is at 2.1%. So it's 7 times more likely than straight women to have used meth. So there's something going on with bisexual women that is unique.
I mean, there's a lot going on with bisexual
There's a lot going on with bisexual women, but particularly in this area, there's something interesting happening.
Yeah.
So my big takeaways from this is that gay men are more than 4 times more likely to use meth than straight men. And the other thing, though, like we talked about, the assumption is that everyone is doing this and I'm the only one that's missing out or don't understand because, the gay community meth comes up. It's something we're kind of aware of, but 96% of gay men have not used meth in the past year. So by far, most gay men don't use meth. Yeah. So although it's a big problem in the gay community, it's still limited to, 4% of people.
Yeah. Let's talk about this now. Okay. So to your point that like 96% don't or haven't, I feel like an idiot.
Why is that?
I feel like a dum-dum because for the longest time on Grindr, I would tell people, yes, I like to party.
Oh no, Mike. Okay.
But I didn't know that that's what that meant.
Yeah. I wrote down, so like some of the ways that people talk about this, P&P, you know that one, right? You knew
Party and play?
Party and play?
I did not know what it meant, and so I would politely decline. I did not know it was a drug thing until embarrassingly far into my gay career.
Okay. Well, then, just so you have all the info, party and play and party are some of the most common ones. If you use a capital T.
Yeah, random capital T's. Why?
Random capital T's, because T for Tina for crystal meth.
Great. Okay.
Great. If you use the party emoji, the guy with the little party hat and the...
Yep, that thing. Yeah. What's that thing called?
I don't know.
It's not a kazoo.
It's not a kazoo.
It's a blowy thing.
A
party tickler.
A party tickler. A blow party toy. Yeah. That party guy is code. Yeah. Spun, cloudy, clouds, swirl, the emoji of the face with swirly eyes, skiing, snow.
Oh, I thought that was cocaine.
It can also mean cocaine.
Okay.
So that one can get a little bit confusing, but yeah, all of those are different code words that people use.
Do sometimes people say get railed or just
oh, cute? I mean, not cute, but I get that. Okay. No, I haven't heard that.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like random emojis that now, after that revelation that like, oh, this weird behavior that I'm seeing is like intentional and is about meth. I wonder if now every typo, I'm like, oh, what drug does that mean? And like, no, it's just I'm bad at spelling.
Don't accidentally capitalize your T's and you're good.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
But then there's also like roses. If somebody says roses, I
don't know what that means.
Oh, they're a sex worker. They're looking for you to pay them.
Oh, I've heard generous.
Generous is the other.
Gen.
Yeah. Gen or generous as being like, it's
Pay
usually
me.
in the looking for, although I have seen profiles that say I am occasionally generous, and they mean like I'm occasionally.
I will pay you for sex.
Pay people for sex.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one, and then I just assumed that like a bunch of drug stuff just goes right over my head.
I'm assuming some drug stuff goes over my head too, because I know what I know, but not all of it.
Well, do you want to talk real quick about like ADHD?
Sure.
And ADHD meds. So I've never done meth. Like the sum total of my drug existence has been marijuana and mushrooms. End of list. And I don't know what it feels like. I don't know what the experience is like, but I do know that I have had various forms of amphetamines as part of my various treatments that I've tried for ADHD. And the ones that were like meth based, like Adderall, like Dexedrine, Vyvanse, Ritalin, I tried all of them. There really were a lot of like sort of weird side effects, but being horny was not one of them.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a big, like, lower sexual inhibitions for meth. Classic meth, lower sexual inhibitions and like feeling real turned on for sure part of it.
Okay. It made it hard for me to pee sometimes.
Oh,
because I couldn't relax to let the pee out.
Interesting.
And I would grind my teeth real bad, which I know that meth mouth is one of the like side effects that like is actually a thing. Like people's teeth start to kind of be nasty, and it's a combination apparently of bruxism, meaning like grinding your teeth, but also it dries your mouth out, and that like makes your teeth decay faster for some reason. This is not what I wanted to talk to you about. So as a treatment for ADD, we know that amphetamines and amphetamine derivatives affect your brain chemistry. And people have been using it as a performance-enhancing drug, not only as soldiers on the battlefield, but also for like brain stuff. And like college students are always trading each other Adderall, even if they don't need it, so they can pull an all-nighter and study and stuff like that. But there's this dude named Paul Erdos, who died in 1996, but he was a Hungarian mathematician. And he's a really important one. Like, he's one of the most prolific mathematicians and producers of mathematical conjectures of the 20th century. Discrete math, graph theory, number theory, mathematical analysis, approximation theory, set theory, probability theory. He is like a serious dude. He won the Wolf Prize and the AMS Cole Prize for mathematics. But what's interesting, first, he's also in the category of he never married. Yeah, which we just talked about that. He has a number named after him, the Erdos number, which is like just kind of a funny thing, but that's like, it's just like the Bacon, the Kevin Bacon, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. It's like that, but for mathematicians. It's like, how many steps is the shortest path between a mathematician and Erdos?
Oh, interesting.
Because he's been on so many papers that like he's the Kevin Bacon of math.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah, he never married and has had no kids, and he fucking loved meth and methamphetamine derivatives and stimulants in general. So he's pointed to in some of the literature that I was reading as like an example of a human who has relied on these kinds of substances to like do his job well. One of the most prolific and successful mathematicians in human history. He took amphetamine and methylphenidate occasionally throughout his early career and then began taking them daily.
Wow.
A doctor prescribed them to him to allay the depression associated with his mother's death and didn't stop until his death at age 83. He also would sustain himself on copious amounts of coffee and caffeine pills. Now, Erdos took amphetamine methamphetamine, despite the concern of his friends, one of whom bet him $500 that he couldn't stop taking meth for a month. He won the bet, but at the end of the bet, he complained, quote, "You've shown me that I'm not an addict, but I didn't get any work done. I'd get up in the morning and stare at a blank piece of paper. I'd have no ideas, just like an ordinary person. You've set mathematics back a month."
Wow.
And then he promptly started using meth again.
He sounds a little arrogant.
I mean, I guess it's not bragging if it's true, though. He's like, one of the biggest math guys of the 20th century. And he's like, yeah. And then I stopped taking meth and I got dumber. So I'm going back on it.
Yeah.
Which I think that's really interesting. Because we know it does things to your brain. He was a really, really interesting dude. When he died, he was buried next to his parents, again, because he didn't have a spouse or anything. And he put a thing on his grave that's hilarious. I just can't find it. Here we go. For his epitaph, he suggested, "I've finally stopped getting dumber."
Huh.
And I think that's great. I want to put that on my gravestone also.
I finally stopped getting dumber.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I get it.
I think he just knows the Dunning-Kruger effect, and he knows that like the more he learned, the more he didn't know.
Oh,
and that's what that leads to. Anyway, again, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He never married. I'm pretty sure that this guy was gay and just a meth fiend. But
yeah,
that
I guess so.
In a way that apparently like changed the face of mathematics in the 20th century. So
meth is great.
Yeah, meth is great. Do meth, everybody. But no, okay, that's obviously a joke. But like, I do think that there are a lot of benefits to some of these medications that have come out of methamphetamine and the different ways that it can be turned into pills or inhalants sometimes. And I don't know, like I was 30 when I got diagnosed with ADHD and got medicated for it. And despite the side effects, I just noticed such a night and day difference in my ability to do things. And I don't know, like, I guess I'm trying to create a moral ambiguity around meth when I shouldn't or something. But
there's very big difference between getting diagnosed with something and being prescribed something by a doctor and recreational use. Like, that's an easy line. There's no ambiguity there. And if you're justifying that this is okay because there's some positive benefits, you're justifying recreational use because you think there's some positive benefits, then you kind of know that you're doing some little mental gymnastics.
Yeah. Okay. Look at me not calling you out on that.
What?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now what?
I'm gonna read some quotes from experts about, why is meth so big in the gay community?
Okay.
What's going on here? So I'll start with Phil McCabe, a social worker and president of the National Association of LGBT Addiction Professionals. Says, quote, "Today with Grindr, men can have sex and drugs delivered to their door instantly. I think it's gotten worse in the past couple years."
Yeah, but you have to pay extra for Prime.
Prime Now delivery. I've hooked up with a meth dealer and had him say, "I need to go leave because I need to go, someone wants it, and I need to go deliver some drugs to them." So
that's service.
That's high level of service that he provided. But it is, in my mind, I don't know what the viewpoint is from other people who may not know what the symbols are and what to look for. Like, it is very easy, I think, in the gay community to find someone using meth.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that?
I'm always surprised, and I shouldn't be. Like, the number of people in my life who are acquaintances, I wouldn't necessarily call them friends, but that I then later find out, like, yeah, I was on meth at that time. Meth and Molly, are the two things that keep popping up over and over again in such a way that I'm like, oh, okay, like half my people I know when I go out apparently are like in that world. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Mike Rizzo, the Cass Center's clinical program director, says, quote, with crystal meth, it's sort of the perfect gay drug. It lowers sexual inhibitions, increases arousal, and helps users escape internalized homophobia or other social stigmas. So it is kind of this, unfortunately, well developed just for us, and some of the things that speak to our community, unfortunately. Michael Arntz, a sober companion for caste treatment centers, says crystal meth touches on two of the things that gay culture struggles with: vanity and sex. We feel intense pressure to be thin and fit, and an emphasis on sex is a major emphasis in our culture. There is this unspoken and unfortunately mainstream message that if you are gay and want to be part of the culture, you have to be hot and have plenty of sex, which you've talked about that feeling in the gay culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it definitely is a pressure.
Yeah.
Author Craig Sloan says sex itself often becomes a trigger for meth use. Sex can become a barrier to treatment and lead to relapse. When under the influence of meth, the sexual pleasure is so intense that many addicts fear they will never experience the same level of sexual pleasure sober, which has definitely been a fear of mine. Is like, once I stopped using it, I was like, oh fuck, can I have sex now? Yeah. Because I was so used to every time I had sex, it was using meth.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, this is triggering. I don't know. Potentially, like, that much better. Yeah. Like, okay.
I mean, one of the shitty things, the shitty truths that about this is, yes, it feels great. It's a drug that is made to give you dopamine. Like, it does feel really good, and it's a lot of fun. And sometimes I miss it. You mentioned some of the side effects that whenever I talk to my therapist about this, I talk about like, oh, I miss it, or it was a lot of fun. She's like, yeah, like, remember the whole picture though, because a few days after you use it, I once had someone that I was smoking meth with describe the first time he used it and then the crash afterwards. He said, I thought I would never be happy again. There is especially if you're already prone to depression, which I am, like, the post meth use depression is really bad. So it takes whatever you've been working on in your therapy or whatever and sets it back, however long for you to kind of move on from that and get over the crash of it. It feels horrible. And it also, like, for me, because when I use it like takes me out for a few days, because that's all I can do. I just use it and have sex, and I'm most vulnerable to use it when I have a few days free with nothing planned, because then I know no one will miss me, and I can kind of get away hiding in my own world. So kind of then you have to go back and be like, okay, what are all the things that I missed out on the past few days when I did absolutely nothing but meth?
So is FOMO protective then?
A little bit. Like, did I miss work because of this? Did I skip someone's birthday because of this? Did I not, like, a little bit, especially like in order to hide it as well, you got to not hang out with people when you're high. So yeah, a little bit. Let's see. Mark Ketchum, executive director for SunServe, says it's such a tough problem. There's such a high rate of recidivism. Nailed it. You don't get much success. If you know you're not going to win, it's hard to take it on, but we have to start somewhere. We have to start addressing the whys. It's an uphill battle, this damn thing. It's just very frustrating. Which that paints a very bleak picture of the prospects and what it's like to be someone who's working. He's works in South Florida, which, Florida is particularly, I think, challenging for meth use, but yeah, it's a hard problem to have.
I saw a chart that I forgot to save that was rating different drugs on their physical harm, level of addictiveness, and social harm, I think. And it was wild because meth was like way up there on the addictiveness, but actually then was like social harm was like below alcohol, which is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like, because I think of the addiction and the culture that it creates as sort of like feeding into each other.
Yeah.
Like I know that you have said, like there are people that you would have to avoid because if you just were hanging out with them, like that's where that path was going to lead.
Yeah.
And
yeah, they're definitely like my meth friends.
Yeah.
It was really cool recently. Actually, I hooked up with a guy that I had done meth with several times, and he was also not using meth anymore. So it was kind of nice to like, and then we had sex, and
Yeah.
it was nice to be like on the same page as him.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
Yeah. It was fun.
Okay. Is that
Yeah.
You did quotes?
Yeah.
So I know that you're going to do an Ask Reddit for our Patreon segment.
Yeah, and I'll tease the question that I'm going to read is why does everyone become gay on meth? So we're going to talk about that.
I mean, it can't, right?
They'll find out.
Is it going to make you? Okay, well, all right. I won't spoil it then, or have you spoiler it. Okay, well, so the ways to do meth. There's apparently there's pills. Apparently you can snort it. Apparently you can smoke it. But also apparently
you can inject it.
Inject it, yeah. But apparently you could also put it up your ass or in your pussy. So I did not know this.
Yeah, this is called a booty bump.
Well, okay, it's also called a lot of other things, some of which I think are hilarious. So let's do a little lighthearted section.
Sure.
About meth.
About meth use up the butt.
Yeah, sure. So rectal administration and intravaginal administration are less popular drug routes in the community with comparatively little research into their effects. Information on their use is largely anecdotal, with reports of increased sexual pleasure and the effects of the drug lasting longer. Though as methamphetamine is centrally active in the brain, these effects are likely experienced through the higher bioavailability of the drug in the bloodstream and the faster onset of action than many other routes of administration. Nicknames for the routes of administration within some methamphetamine communities include a booty bump.
Yep. That's the one I hear. I don't hear it called anything else.
Have you ever done that?
How about, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Did it work?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. A butt rocket.
Oh, wow. The downside, I will say for me, the downside of booty bumps is it upsets my stomach, which is not what you want when you're about to have sex.
Yeah.
When you're about to have receptive sex.
Yeah.
So I avoided it.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
What else?
A butt rocket.
Yeah.
Do you like?
I've never heard that.
Okay. The most confusing one on this list, we have to work on why.
Okay.
Potato thumping. What does that even fucking mean?
Didn't Chumbawamba have a hit called Potato Thumping?
Yeah. I get knocked down,
I
meth up again.
I have no idea why. I don't know much about potatoes either, though. So
all right, well, if we come up with an etymology for that,
sure.
Let me know. Turkey basting.
Oh, okay.
That one.
That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. Plugging.
Oh yeah. Well, but people also use like the little plug emoji to like they're a plug. Like you can find drugs from them. Oh. Or they're looking for a plug. They're looking for someone who has drugs.
Is it meth or like something else?
It could be a variety of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Booty whap.
Whap. Oh God.
A thing that does not disqualify you from being a Supreme Court Justice of the United States of America. Boofing, which that's just putting anything up in there, like booze, like putting booze in your asshole is boofing also, right?
I don't know.
Pretty sure that's the case, Kyle.
Okay.
Suitcasing?
Because you pack it away. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Hooping? Shooting some hoops.
Because it's up your hole?
Basketball in the rim.
Three-pointer. I don't know. Slam dunk.
Keistering.
Oh,
Stick it in your keister.
Yeah.
Which I would also imagine is applicable to more than just meth.
Yeah, I think so.
Shafting.
Shaft.
You damn right. Bumming. And apparently only for vaginas, shelving.
Shell.
Shelving? Shelving? Are there bookshelves up in there?
Yeah, I think they have an entire library of the vagina if you really dig far enough.
Just turn left at the cervix, and you'll find yourself in Dewey Decimal Section 300.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Anyway, yeah, I didn't. It is fascinating to me how every drug has a culture around it, and that culture includes vocab.
Yeah.
Like there's so much vocabulary out there that is so specific, and you either know that world or you don't.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's sex and drugs and alcohol are all like humans just love to make euphemisms and code words and extra vocab for, and I kind of love it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the great way to view the meth culture, but also kind of terrible.
Yeah. All right.
Also, part of the culture is usually when you use meth, you pair with other drugs like GHB.
Okay. Also never done that one.
That's pretty common to.
Although I did get roofied once, and I think maybe that's what it was.
Oh, that sucks. That really sucks.
Yeah. It was not fun.
Yeah. When you do it in a controlled environment, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. What do we want to talk about, Kyle?
I think also for the Patreon segment, I'm going to talk about Slam Rush.
Slam Rush?
Yeah. Have you heard of that porn?
I'm sorry, it's a porn?
Yep.
Then no.
Okay. We'll talk about that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. It's an education. Can I ask you questions?
Sure.
Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
The first time you did it, when was it?
God, I don't remember because I'm so bad at remembering things. Probably 2011-ish.
Okay. So we knew each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitely found it through Grindr. And again, like didn't understand the difference between various drugs, thought everyone did it, and I was just left out. And also I was dealing with crushing depression.
Yeah.
And same reason I drank a lot is to escape that. And so tried it then.
You remember your first time?
Yeah.
Okay. Were you did you know what you were getting yourself into?
Absolutely not. Yeah. I did not know that this would become, and I think that's part of the challenge is because you talked about like how addicting it is. It can very quickly, I think we hear about drugs from, or at least I first heard about drugs from Dare in like elementary school, where they made it seem like if you smoke weed once, you're going to be addicted to it.
You're going to die of a heroin overdose.
Yeah. It's the gateway drug and you'll start to do all these things. So when I did meth once and did not immediately need to do it the next day, I was like, oh, I'm fine. And what I didn't realize is that it can snowball into, oh, I do it once. And then a year goes by and you do it again. And then a few months go by and you do it again. And pretty soon it turns into a far more regular thing very, very fast because it is such a euphoric, and I keep talking about the good sides of meth, which I shouldn't, but it's a fun experience. So it makes sense that you get pulled back into it, and that can be the danger of it.
I mean, I think that's just being honest, though, right? You're not saying it's great, everyone should do it.
Yeah, no, right? Definitely don't do it. It was interesting. You were talking about like this chart of impact, and the chart in my head is like drugs that are like always, sometimes, and never.
Okay.
And like, for example, shrooms are a sometimes drug for me.
Yeah.
I think it's fine to do on occasion. I don't want to be doing them every single day.
Yeah.
And this is just my personal drug chart. So everyone probably has a little bit different. Alcohol is on the always, more regular use. Yeah. And I'm fine with my level of drinking right now. So something like meth should, I think, at least for me, be on the never list. And that includes things like meth and heroin and
how about the last time?
I don't want to talk about that.
Okay, great. So you mentioned that like start slow and then kind of picks up or whatever. I imagine it's a thing that waxes and wanes over time.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like I got into a relationship and that helped make me happy. And also I wasn't going to be doing meth and having sex with people while I was in the relationship with him. So like in relationships, then all of a sudden, you know, we went 2 years and I hadn't done it. Yeah. So yeah, it definitely like can go in spurts.
Hot.
Yeah.
So I also have an association to group sex. Is that a true story? Yeah.
Oftentimes when you're doing it, you have like porn pulled up on a couple different screens and you're hanging out with someone. Let's say you start with one other person. Oftentimes it leads to both people like being on Grindr, being like on Sniffies or whatever, trying to find other guys to like come over and hang out. So it does a lot of times turn into more than two people.
Yeah. Okay.
All doing it together.
And that's enough that it's a thing. Like it's like a reasonable expectation that that's the direction that it's going to go.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, for sure. And it's, you know, because it makes you stay up. You don't have to sleep when you're doing meth, or eat. Then, you know, around 4 a.m. you start chatting with people, and the odds that they are, even if they don't use any of the coded language, the odds that they might be down for meth get higher and higher as the night goes on. So then you start chatting with people at 4 a.m. and you're like, I'm pretty sure this person would be down.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I read somewhere that it makes it hard to come.
It makes it definitely makes it hard to get hard. I think that was in the chapter that I wrote about one of the downsides. It's interesting because it's often paired with like Viagra, or meth dick is definitely a thing.
But not hard to come? I mean, those are different problems.
I guess related problems though.
Because the place that I was reading this was like, you can go for a really long time because climaxing is difficult.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
How you feeling? You decided to write about it, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Now that the book is out of the gate, how do you feel about that?
No one is.
It's out there. You can't put it back in the bottle.
I can't undo it. I feel worried that people will judge me for it. I worry about people listening to this episode of the podcast. Like I met someone recently that I'm really into and was like, told him about the show, and he was like, cool, I'll check it out. Like if this happens to be the one he downloads, then whoops, sorry, this is a thing about me. So this is not something I talk about or share with people. So it's definitely weird that it's out there.
Is it triggering to talk about?
I think a little bit, but hopefully I talk about it with my therapist. That's the only kind of regularity that I talk about it. And that's very helpful. So I'm hoping that by doing this, it helps. It has helped to have it gives me another reason not to do it. Which is very helpful to have another kind of thing in my arsenal of why not to use meth.
Yeah.
But there, like I can walk down the street and you see unhoused people that are using meth, and that's triggering. There's like a side of my brain that's like, just walk up and say, I'll give you $5 if you let me take a hit of that. That would be so easy. So yeah, I think a lot of things. I think I was reading. Now I don't remember his name. That guy's who has a sister.
David Sedaris?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you get it from that? He writes about using meth with his friends in a book I was reading. So just casually, I was like, oh, fuck me. Like, let's talk about casual meth use in this book. Like, yeah. So it comes up enough that and it sucks because it kind of takes me back there and makes me remember that it's a fun thing to do and I don't do it anymore. And yeah.
Is it hard to listen to Third Eye Blind? I'm kidding.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, that song, Semi-Charmed Kind of Life?
Yeah.
That's all about meth.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The whole song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then add it to the list.
Great. Oh, I said it. Oh, it has to go on the list now. I forgot that that's a thing we do.
Yeah, it's a thing I do.
If whenever one of us talks about a song or sings it, we put it on a playlist that's on Spotify. The Sounds of Gayish podcast.
Yeah.
So
go check it out.
Go check it out. I don't know. What else do you want to talk about?
I worry that I didn't talk about enough about like kind of the crushing side effects of it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons it can be addicting, is because not only does it make you feel really good in the moment, but afterwards you feel really bad, and you know the thing that makes you feel better is meth.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be very easy to go back to using meth, and that creates kind of this cycle. You don't want to be someone who needs meth to have sex. That is a place where I have gotten to in life and really sucks. And you want to be able to enjoy your sex life completely sober. And that's something that everyone should keep in mind if they're considering meth.
I recently came across this person was talking about how gay sex completely sober is difficult or impossible. That internalized homophobia runs deep, and that something has to take that edge off or it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really, really interesting.
Yeah.
I have gotten to the point in my life where like I don't even want to have sex if I like had too much to drink. Like I don't know, but I know I'm a weirdo and I'm different. Okay. You say you didn't talk enough about the crushing side effects, but like it's real bad, right? Like, like if you're prone to self-harm or suicide, like that's the win. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It definitely, it's like my therapist always says, like, you've done so much work on your mental health. You're making it even harder for you to continue on this journey. Like you're making it, she says it more eloquently, but like you're making it even harder for you to continue on this journey of mental health and improvement by doing meth. That just sets you back so far. And yeah, it's a interesting feeling of depression that I can't compare to any other. There's a specific meth depression after use that feels really dark and empty, and horrible that I feel, and it's, can be days after. So the effects are very delayed. It's not like alcohol where you wake up the next morning and you're like, oh no, what have I done? It's days later that you start to feel it. But it's really bad.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
Yeah. Lord knows I've worried about you before. And I noticed at some point that I've started worrying about you less.
Oh.
And I think that's because you're doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
And
I'm doing a lot of work on all kinds of, I've used a lot of things to help me escape from life. And I think in addition to not using meth, not doing a lot of things that I've been escape kind of things and mentally to get out of feeling like shit. And so I'm more living my life and feeling better about it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Should we take a break?
Yeah. Let's take a break.
Do some math?
Oh God.
Let's take a break. This is the part where Mike and Kyle take a break. So are we back?
We're back.
We're back.
We're going to do our Gayest Straightest.
We're going to do our Gayest Straightest. But first, hey, come to our show.
Come to our show. You can find out more about all the tour dates and stops and where to buy our book, You're Probably Gayish, at gayishpodcast.com/book.
Yeah.
And if you buy it, then we would love, and if you liked it, we would love a review on Amazon or Goodreads. I think we only have a handful of reviews on Amazon, but the more reviews we have there, the better it does for the algorithm. So the more likely it would be to show up. So anything helps.
Yep. Anything helps. But don't leave a review if it's not going to be 5 stars or whatever.
Yeah.
Then you're just
keep that
you're just
to yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Well, our website is gayishpodcast.com.
We are on social media at Gayish Podcast, or you can go to gayishpodcast.com/contact to find out where to find our Discord or Facebook group or any of our other social media.
Hey, move to Discord, everybody. It's awesome, and it doesn't give any dickbag fuckface assholes any money as far as we know.
Yeah, do it.
Our hotline, you can send us text messages or leave us voicemails, is 5855-GAYISH. That's 585-542-9474, standard rate supply.
Our email is gayishpodcast@gmail.com.
And our physical mailing address is Post Office Box 19882, Seattle, Washington, 98109.
Gayest and Straightest?
Let's do our Gayest and Straightest. Wait.
Okay. Oh, what?
The 4 R's.
Oh, yeah.
They're 5 R's now, I think.
Is read one of them?
Rate, review, subscribe, recommend, and review.
Review.
The book that you read. That's 6 R's. There's so many R's. You have so much homework, everybody.
You have so much R's to do.
Gayest and Straightest.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go.
Okay, go.
My gayest. Well, you told me that it was that I didn't know the Super Bowl was going on.
Yeah, I was like, the Super Bowl's tomorrow, and you're like, it is.
It is. I didn't. Usually it comes up somehow in casual. I have not been Doug just had a baby, our favorite fag stag, and so I have not been
to see him.
Yeah.
I forgot he was a person.
Yeah.
There he was. I was like, oh, you're a person.
Yeah, he's great. But my real gayest is listening to the new Lady Gaga song.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Abracadabra.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I like the weird ass part where she goes abracadabra, abracadabra, like that weird ass part, and then the rest just sounds like a normal her thing. It's just kind of the same old. So like I like the weird, different, unique part of it, and not the rest of it.
Okay.
What do you think?
That video is wild.
Video's wild.
I watched the Grammys and it came on as a MasterCard commercial, which I thought was brilliant and stupid at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think of it?
I like it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I haven't really done I rarely like things the first time through. Like I remember when Easy on Me by Adele came out, the first time through I was like, eh. And the guy that I was banging at the time was like beside himself that I didn't immediately want to jizz rainbows because of this song.
Yeah.
And then about a week later, I was like, oh yeah, this is a banger. I love it.
That happened to me with Lady Gaga with Just Dance.
Oh, okay.
Someone played me that in college and I was like, that's fine. And he was like, no. Yeah, I'm the same way. My straightest is wearing my night guard. I just don't feel very sexy when I wear my night guard.
It's not okay, hold on.
Yeah.
My retainers are very good for blowjobs.
Oh, because you can't do teeth.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's great.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe I'll have to give that a try.
Yeah.
Had no idea.
But definitely it feels very stop looking at my headgear.
Yeah. Totally. What about you?
What about me? Well, the straightest thing about me this week is talking to contractors about studs and gas lines and exhaust and insulation and all of the where's the toilet going to go? It just feels very straight, bro. Constructor stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Tools, drawings, and
belts,
estimates.
Yeah.
Then the gayest thing about me this week is last night when we did the book launch event, I put out our tablecloth because we have a table skirt that has our logo on it for our live shows, and there's stains all over it. And the owner of the restaurant was like, we got to cover that up. So we went on this hunt for another tablecloth, and just talking to him about which tablecloth should we put on top, what's going to make it pop the most, or what's going to give us the vibe that we're going for. It just felt very gay, trying to color coordinate the tablecloth.
Yeah, that sounds pretty gay.
Yeah. Okay, we have a listener's Gayest Straightest this week. It's from our favorite listener math teacher, Chase Carrico.
Hello, Mike, Kyle, Derek, and Gayish in general. This is Chase Carrico calling with my Gayest and Straightest for the week. My straightest was actually making plans with a gay friend because we went out and had barbecue and drank beer and watched the basketball game and even talked about cars a little bit. And my gayest is that afterwards we went and got coffee, and on my drive home with my iced coffee, I was belting out Chantel's Impossible and a few other show tunes to go along with it. Appreciate the show. Love what you guys do. I'm enjoying the book so far. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank y'all.
From Into the Woods, yeah? Sondheim?
My straightest is not knowing what that is.
Great.
Barbecue, beer, basketball.
Yeah.
The 3 B's.
The 3 B's of straight bros.
Of straight dude. Bros. Yeah. And then I love that your iced coffee was part of the mix in your Gayest. That's pretty gay.
Yeah, that's a twofer for sure.
Yeah, love that. I think that's it.
I guess that's it.
Yeah.
This now feels very sudden.
Oh, do you want to talk more?
No.
Okay.
No. Gotta go pretend to care about the Super Bowl.
Oh, fun.
Okay, that's it. Thanks to meth users everywhere. No, I don't like. What are we supposed to say, Kyle?
Yeah, I don't know. I want to thank our Super Gap Bridgers. Thank you to Locomotive, Simon Srirachi, Kaylee Adams, Kit Oliver, Kobe Gordon, Squaggle, Pip, Andrew Bugby, William Bryant, John Crowley, Yost Osel, Jonathan Montanius, Forrest Nail, Steve Douglas, Explosive Lasagna, Michael Covington, Just Jamie, Thomas B. Dusty Sands, A. Coleman, Chris Cacciatorians, and Jerome York. Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your money. That's it. This has been Gayish from the Chris Cacciatorian Studios. I'm Mike Johnson.
I'm Kyle Getz. Until next week, be butch, be fabulous, be you.
See you next week.
See ya.
I'm so thankful that you're not tired of me.
Who said that?
Well, I'm just guessing. You keep showing up, so either you're not tired of me or you're a masochist.
Oh, well, a little both.
Yeah.